Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 14 based on novel. So let's start. 1 month stealthily passed. Meanwhile, the atmosphere of the entire Beast War region gradually became fiery hot following the flow of time. Various rumors spread all over the region. Nonetheless, regardless of how the news spread, they were most centered around a main topic. Ancient divine item treasury. When anyone mentioned these 4 words, rich greed would undoubtedly surge from deep within their eyes. Anyone who has lived for a period of time in the Beast War region was clearly aware just how crazy this Beast War region would become every 3 years. Almost every faction would stop fighting during this period of time. After which, they would turn their searing hot eyes towards the ancient divine item treasury. Divine objects. To the eyes of many people, these 2 simple words were a synonym for the world powerful. Even the most ordinary divine object possessed might that was comparable to a heavenly soul treasure. If one was truly fortunate and obtained an ancient divine object which was ranked on the ancient divine object ranking, it would cause countless people to become envious immediately. Although one would require the strength of an ancient divine tablet in order to obtain a divine object inside the divine item treasury, it seems like there was a large number of treasures within. Few people might be able to obtain a divine object each time the treasury was opened, but there would be many powerful soul treasures flowing out from the ancient divine item treasury too. In fact, it seemed like the ancient divine item treasury did not impose a limit on the number of soul treasures at this level. Hence, everyone was qualified to obtain one. As long as one was able to obtain a soul treasure, one's trip would not have been in vain. This was also the reason why the opening of the ancient divine item treasury became the grandest event in the Beast War region every 3 years. In preparation to obtain powerful soul treasures from within the ancient divine item treasury, many factions rubbed their hands together and prepared for a big fight. Deep Lightning Mountain. A black army stood orderly in front of a large hall. Murderous aura spread over and covered the entire place. The 8 generals of the Deep Lightning armor were fully armored as they stood in front of this stern army. Their aura was frightening. "Sir Flame Commander, we have completed our preparations. We can leave upon your command." Chen Tong looked towards the towering stone stage in front. There was a metal tower-like figure there. He stood proudly as a shockingly fierce aura spread out from within his body in a wave-like fashion. Little Flame's tiger eyes swept over the tiger-devouring army, which had a ferocious and frightening aura, before a satisfied expression appeared in his eyes. Immediately, he nodded slowly. A low and deep voice spread. "Mohu, Gya, the both of you will guard the Deep Lightning Mountain. Everyone else including the tiger-devouring army will follow me to the Divine Item Mountain range." "Yes." The Mohu duo below responded in a deep voice. "Sir Demon Commander, when shall we leave?" Chen Tong inquired. "Once Big Brother exits his secluded cultivation." Little Flame turned around. His eyes looked towards a training hall in the Deep Lightning Mountain. Lin Dong had been training bitterly in a retreat and he did not show any signs of appearing even until now. Chen Tong and the others nodded upon hearing this. Promptly, they ceased speaking. The entire area in front of the hall had once again become completely quiet. Only a dense ferocity lingered in the sky. This wait continued for a couple of hours. When the sun in the sky became extremely hot, everyone suddenly sensed a sudden, shocking invisible wave spreading from the distant hall. That ripple might appear invisible, but it was filled with a terrifying pressuring force. Roar! The ripple spread while an earth-shaking dragon roar was suddenly emitted from the large hall. A light ray formed from mental energy suddenly rose from within the hall. The ray of light gradually disappeared. A skinny figure walked over through the sky. There was not the least bit of yuan power ripples around him. Instead, it was filled with majestic mental energy. The mental energy seemed to have turned into thunder that continuously rumbled as his footsteps landed. Chen Tong and the rest wore shocked gazes as they looked at the young man who appeared in the air above this hall in a flash. Their minds felt a little lost when they looked at his jet black eyes. They seemed like black holes, which caused one's soul to involuntarily sink within it. Such shocking mental energy. Chen Tong's group quickly recovered. Their hearts were shocked. All of them hurriedly lowered their heads. The strength of Lin Dong's mental energy had actually reached a stage whereby it could actually affect their minds. Lin Dong stared at the large army waiting below, before he gave a faint smile. The majestic mental energy floating around him was gradually withdrawn. His finger subsequently touched a black eye. There seemed to be a unique ripple flashing over his eye. It seemed like the bitter training during this period of time had also allowed him to reap some benefits in terms of his mental energy probing. Let's get moving. Lin Dong waved his hand. Without further ado, his body moved and transformed into a wisp of green smoke that floated into the distance. Go! Little Flame let out a low and cold cry upon seeing this. He stomped his feet and his body turned into a ray of black light that followed behind Lin Dong with lightning-like speed. Chen Tong and the tiger-devouring army also rose into the sky before exploding forward. The sound of air being split apart resounded in the sky, giving it an extremely spectacular appearance. The Divine Item mountain range was located at the middle of the Beast War region. This spot could be considered as the only place in the Beast War region that was not dominated by any faction. It was not due to its lack of resources. On the contrary, it was because this place was far too tempting. As a result, no faction was bold enough to occupy this place for itself. Even the powerful factions of the three great demon commanders in the Beast War region were no exception. Countless pairs of blood-red eyes were constantly staring at this place. Any strong individual or faction that intended to use various means to occupy this place would become the common enemy of the entire Beast War region without exception. Typically, this Divine Item mountain range was fairly deserted. However, within a short few days, this place had become the most lively place in the entire Beast War region. Not only did various large armies from the large factions of the Beast War region came rushing over, but even factions outside of the Beast War region had also traveled great distances to reach this place because of the ancient Divine Item Treasury's reputation. Currently, the entire mountain range was densely packed with people. Countless rushing wind sounds continued to reverberate across the sky. Numerous individuals rushed over from the distance like locusts. After which, they landed in this mountain range. The Divine Item Treasury has finally opened up again. I wonder if there any powerful divine objects will appear this time around. The 9 Sky Heavy Mountain from before was ranked 32nd on the ancient Divine Item ranking. The scene back then was really lively. Countless number of people died in a bid to fight for that treasure. Finally, that treasure landed in the hands of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Regardless of how the fight proceeds, these items will simply fall into the hands of those Demon Commanders' factions. Which other faction will dare to intervene? That may not be true. When the time comes, everyone will lose their minds due to the excitement of seeing a divine object. Who cares what faction one belongs to? With so many people attacking together, it is likely that even a great demon commander will not dare to face the fury of everyone. Various noises reverberated across this huge mountain range. This buzzing sound could be clearly heard even from a great distance. Suddenly, a large cluster of rushing wind came transmitted from the horizon amidst all the noise. Countless pairs of eyes glanced over. They could see a monstrous ferocity sweeping over. This ferocity was like a black torrent rolling over with a frightening dark aura. That is, the Deep Lightning Mountain's tiger-devouring army. The Deep Lightning Mountain has came indeed. It is rumored that the current Deep Lightning Mountain Demon Commander used to be its #1 ferocious general, the Flame General. The Deep Lightning Mountain had even clashed with the Blood Dragon Hall some time ago. They are truly bold. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander will definitely appear today. At that time, we will definitely have a good show to watch. He is indeed a little arrogant. Back then, even Xu Song did not dare to disrespect the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Yet, this new Demon Commander already dared to do so before he has even fully developed. How reckless. Private conversations spread across the mountain. The black torrent also whistled over from some distance away. Finally, it directly landed on a mountain in front of the countless pairs of eyes. The entire place clearly became much quieter following the arrival of the group from the deep lightning mountain. Various curious gazes were shot over. Clearly, the face-off between the deep lightning mountain and the blood dragon hall had caused many people to become interested in the new demon commander of the deep lightning mountain. Lin Dong completely ignored their gazes. He lifted his eyes and looked towards the deepest parts of the mountain range. He could detect an extremely faint ripple from that spot. This fluctuation was a little similar to that of the ancestral stone in his body. It is indeed a grand event. Lin Dong's eyes swept around him. A surprise flashed across his face. Countless majestic aura was surging towards the sky. That grand manner was quite spectacular. Little Flame nodded. His scarlet tiger eyes swept around him. Some of the onlookers that were staring at him quickly turned away. The reputation of the top ferocious general of the Deep Lightning Mountain was quite well known in the Beast War region. Everyone was clearly aware how brutal this person was. "Let's rest," Lin Dong said. His brow was lifted slightly after his voice sounded. Turning his head, he looked towards the northern sky. A monstrous blood light suddenly shot over. At the same time, an extremely pressurizing aura surged throughout the Divine Item mountain range from all directions. This aura directly caused the conversations all over the mountain to halt. Soon after, some gloating eyes were cast towards the mountain, where the group from the Deep Lightning Mountain was located. "That's..." Lin Dong felt something. He crossed his 10 long fingers and glanced at Chen Tong's faces beside him, which had become a lot more tense. A faint smile appeared. "Is the Blood Dragon Hall about to arrive?" Chen Tong's group slowly nodded upon hearing this. Their eyes were filled with worry and cautiousness. "Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, huh?" Lin Dong lifted his head. He looked at the direction that the pressurizing aura had originated from. Those originally dark black eyes seemed to have become even deeper. Is his actual body about to arrive? Blood light swept over from the horizon as an exceptionally powerful aura came sweeping forth. That pressurizing aura caused the expressions of countless number of experts in the mountain range to change drastically. The might of a Samsara stage expert was actually this fearsome. Lin Dong lifted his head. His eyes stared at the sky, which was filled with a bloody light. Promptly, he frowned slightly. Standing behind him, Little Flame had a fearsome glint flashing across his eyes. There seemed to be a low and deep tiger roar spreading from his metal tower-like body. Chen Tong's group and the tiger-devouring army immediately went on high alert, as they prepared to deal with any unexpected changes. The bright red blood light became even denser. After which, everyone saw a black mass of humans rushing over. It was a blood-red army. Right in front of this army were two figures walking on air. They were familiar faces. The both of them were the two commanders of the Blood Dragon Hall who fought with Lin Dong 1 month ago. There were 4 large blood-red pythons in the middle of the blood-red army. The huge pythons were entangled around each other as they carried a large blood-red throne. A figure sat while leaning on the throne. There was an oppressive aura seeping out from his body and enveloping the sky. One of the 3 great demon commanders of the Beast War region, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. The air in the sky above the Divine Item mountain range seemed to have solidified. Although there were 8 demon commanders in the Beast War region, everyone knew that the true rulers were these 3 great demon commanders. The overwhelming strength of a Samsara stage expert was such that all experts below this level would feel completely inferior. The blood-red army finally came to a slow stop in the sky. After which, many pairs of ferocious eyes were thrown downwards. They looked towards the mountain, which the Deep Lightning Mountain had occupied, from a distance away. Seated on his blood-colored throne, the eyes of that figure turned downwards. There seemed to be a playful smile on his face as he said, "We meet again." Lin Dong had a calm expression. This is no coincidence. He lifted his head to stare at the figure on the throne. The current Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was undoubtedly many times stronger compared to a month ago. Vast and mighty Yuan power lingered around his body like an ocean. The Yuan power was filled with life and death chi. Both were very different types of energy. However, they were perfectly merged together at this moment. The merger of life and death formed the cycle of rebirth. A profound life stage expert has surging life chi within one's body. Subsequently, the life chi became so rich that it turned into death chi. Two different types of strength, one will strengthen one's body while the other had lethal killing force. Only with the perfect merger of these two types of energy would one be able to display its true might. This was also why a samsara stage expert was able to look down on a perfect profound death stage expert. Any of the energies alone had difficulties dealing with an opponent who had merged both life and death chi. This was a true difference. Unless one had some unique techniques, it was very difficult to breach this gap. Are you regretting your decision to act so arrogantly back then, now that you have seen my actual body? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander mocked as he looked at the Lindong duo. His eyes had an expression like a cat playing with a mouse. Those eyes across the mountain looked towards the group from the deep lightning mountain. They were aware that many people here were simply after a good show. The deep lightning mountain was finally going to pay a price for their recklessness and arrogance from a month ago. Lindong faced the eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. A smile was revealed on it as he softly said, "Even if we go back in time, the words I said will not change." The smile on the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's face in the sky slowly disappeared. He stood up. A red cape fluttered behind him, appearing like a pair of bloody wings. An icy chill and dense killing desire rose within his eyes. "You actually dare to act tough even at this juncture?" Upon detecting the murderous desire in the eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, the tiger-devouring army was akin to a provoked ferocious tiger, as they suddenly shifted their scarlet eyes towards the former. There was not the least bit of fear in their eyes. Instead, only a wild beast-like bloodthirsty ferocity was present. "Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, I'm afraid that your teeth aren't hard enough to crack my deep lightning mountain." Little Flame cried out coldly. The eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was gloomy. Everyone could feel a monstrous ripple sweeping out from him. The Blood Dragon Hall's army also revealed a ferocity within their eyes. No one had expected that the deep lightning mountain would still dare to be this disrespectful even after the actual body of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had arrived. "I shall let all of you know that you are not qualified to threaten me with your puny strength." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander took a stride forward and appeared outside of the army. He clenched his hand as a blood-red ball of light frantically gathered in his hand. Black and white energy twisted and churned within. A terrifying destructive force spread from it. This Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had used a strength that exclusively belonged to a samsara stage expert for his first attack. Clearly, he intended to kill them. Chen Tong's group had a change in expression. They could detect a terrifying ripple from the blood-red cluster of light in the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's hand. This current Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was several times stronger compared to the Demon Spirit Avatar back then. Regret in hell. A ferocity flashed across the eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. He flicked his finger and the blood-red ball of light swelled to the size of 1,000 feet. After which, it turned into a blood-red meteorite in front of many terrified pairs of eyes as it whistled past the sky and mercilessly smashed towards the mountain, where the deep lightning mountain was located. The blood-red meteorite descended in the blink of an eye. However, before it could smash the entire mountain into dust, a black shadow suddenly shot out from the mountain. Subsequently, it collided head-on with this blood-red ball of light, which contained a frightening destructive force. Bang! A loud sound reverberated in the sky. An energy assault ripple spread in a wave-like manner, causing the entire mountain range to tremble. Countless pairs of eyes looked towards the source of the assault wave. After which, their eyes suddenly shrunk. They could see a figure floating. That shocking assault from the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had actually been blocked. Who is it? He is actually able to receive the attack of a samsara stage expert? Could it be that there is a hidden expert in the deep lightning mountain? Buzzing-like noise erupted at this moment. Many surprised eyes looked towards the sky above the mountain. This deep lightning mountain actually had some techniques hidden up its sleeves. Is that a puppet? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander also had a change in expression because of this scene. He looked towards the dark black figure before his pupils hardened. Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, I told you before that you will have to be prepared to pay a terrible price if you wish to swallow my deep lightning mountain. Lin Dong waved his sleeve before the sky-devouring corpse in midair slowly landed beside him. Finally, he stared at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and slowly said, "So this is the reason behind your confidence." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander stared intently at the devouring sky corpse. A moment later, his eyes became dark and gloomy as he remarked. Lin Dong was non-committal. He said, "Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, our aim is the divine item Treasury. The strength of your Blood Dragon Hall might surpass my Deep Lightning Mountain, but are you certain that you will have the strength to compete for the divine objects with the other two great demon commanders, after fighting with us? Are you threatening me?" The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander laughed coldly. "I am merely stating the truth." Lin Dong smiled. His eyes overlooked this mountain range. Some of those powerful auras present caused him to be surprised. It is likely that you are aware that many people here are eyeing the ancient divine item Treasury. Starting a fight before the Treasury opens means wasting your precious troops on my Deep Lightning Mountain. I'm afraid that this isn't a wise decision. Am I right? Countless number of experts in the divine item mountain range let out a quiet praise as they looked at Lin Dong. This little fellow was also quite intelligent. He understood that in a head-on clash, the Deep Lightning Mountain will definitely be unable to defeat the Blood Dragon Hall. However, they were able to use such a method to intimidate the Blood Dragon Hall into doing nothing, due to the fear of losing something even more precious. After all, the Deep Lightning Mountain let everyone, including the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, know that their Deep Lightning Mountain was not a softie after displaying their physical strength. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had a dark expression. Originally, he thought that with the appearance of his actual body, he would be able to quickly shatter the confidence of the Deep Lightning Mountain. However, he did not expect Lin Dong to possess such a powerful puppet which was able to receive his attack head-on. In this way, the intimidation effect he had hoped to achieve was completely gone. Even though he did not wish to admit it, he understood that he had no choice but to be wary of what Lin Dong had mentioned. There were countless powerful individuals eyeing the ancient divine item Treasury. Although their Blood Dragon Hall was considered as a tyrant in this area, there would definitely be many people who would not hesitate to kick them when they were down. Logically speaking, one should not exhaust too much fighting strength before one manages to obtain the divine objects within the ancient divine item Treasury. However, wouldn't that mean his Blood Dragon Hall will have no choice but to retreat for now? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander stared at Lin Dong's smiling face, before he involuntarily felt a little stuffy in his heart. Even though he was a great demon commander in the Beast War region and a powerful Samsara stage expert, he still ended up suffering in the hands of this initial profound death stage brat. Just thinking about this made him furious. The many experts within the divine item mountain range were startled as they watched the sky. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had a rapidly changing expression. His mouth was parted and his eyes were strange as he looked at Lin Dong on the mountain. This fellow, he was actually able to force the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander until such an extent. He was indeed quite formidable. "Ha ha, Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, it seems that you are going to throw away your face this time around." A loud laughter was suddenly transmitted over from a great distance while fury rose within the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's heart. Wind and lightning rolled. Many figures rushed forward. There was a muscular-looking man in golden armor, holding onto a large black rod. He had an ugly face, but his aura was not weaker than the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Golden Ape Mountain's Golden Ape Demon Commander. The appearance of this large man caused some exclamations. A tinge of shock flashed across Lin Dong's eyes. The person who had arrived was none other than one of the three great demon commanders of the Beast War region, the Golden Ape Demon Commander from the Golden Ape Mountain. "TSK, Heaven Dragon, if I was in your shoes, I would have directly attacked and finished them off. In any case, you obtained the 9 Sky Heavy Mountain the previous time. Don't tell me that you are intending to compete with us again." Another sharp laughter was transmitted from far away soon after the huge man appeared. Lin Dong turned his head and saw black clouds surging over from afar. Finally, he could see that the black clouds were actually formed by many winged figures. There was a skinny person right at the front of the black cloud. The wings on his back were 1,000 feet in size. The Ghost Condor Demon Commander from the Ghost Condor stream her. Lin Dong softly muttered to himself. In this way, the Beast War region's 3 great demon commander have all arrived. The Yuan power in the area became a little violent after the other 2 great demon commanders appeared. 3 majestic auras began to spread, causing many people to feel as though their bodies had become a little heavier. 3 ultimate samsara stage experts. Many pairs of eyes looked at the 3 powerful experts standing proudly in the sky, before great fear flashed across their eyes. They were truly the top rulers of the Beast War region. 3 samsara stage experts. Lin Dong's eyes were gathered onto the 3 auras which seemed to cover the entire sky. His expression was a little grave. Although the Yimo lineup back at the Flame Divine Hall was even more terrifying, there was still Qing Shi, Mo Luo, and the others present. However, if any conflict broke out now, all they could do was to face these people by themselves. Lin Dong had once sealed an Yimo general which had strength equivalent to a samsara stage expert. This was however with the help of Tang Xinlian's group and thus did not indicate that he possessed the ability to fight with an expert of this level. The current Lin Dong still had to be extremely cautious and wary when facing such existences. However, compared to the helpless feeling he experienced when facing the 3 giant heads of the Yuan Gate back then, he was undoubtedly in a much better state now. This was because the present Lin Dong also had some skills that would force a samsara stage expert to take him seriously. Humph, all of you are quick to get here. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander frowned as he glanced at the Golden Ape Demon Commander and the Ghost Condor Demon Commander. This is a grand event that only occurs once every 3 years. If we came late, your Blood Dragon Hall might end up grabbing all the benefits again. The Golden Ape Demon Commander smiled. His body appeared quite sturdy and he was wearing a brilliant golden armor. Many strange golden lines covered the armor and a vague, powerful ripple seemed to radiate from it. However, it seems like we got to witness an interesting event the moment we arrived. Heaven Dragon, it is unexpected that you are actually being forced by the Deep Lightning Mountain to such a miserable state. The Ghost Condor Demon Commander looked at the mountain where the group from the Deep Lightning Mountain was. His eyes paused on the sky-devouring corpse beside Lin Dong, before he laughed in a strange manner. I recalled that the Deep Lightning Mountain used to be your subordinate faction, am I right? Why are they actually ignoring you now? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had a dark face, while murderous intent surged in his eyes. Lin Dong frowned. This Ghost Condor Demon Commander was clearly going to be pleased if an all-out fight occurred between the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and them. In that way, it would end up exhausting some of the Blood Dragon Hall's fighting strength. Ghost Condor, you should stop mocking. That brat is no simple individual. It is likely that even you will not be able to gain any advantage in a fight against him. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander chuckled and said. Is that so? The Ghost Condor Demon Commander laughed. He glanced at Lin Dong with a half-smile and shook his head. I do not have a grudge with them. Hence, there is no reason for me to give it a try. Heaven Dragon, your provocation is useless. He was clearly not a fool. It was possible for him to detect an unusual sensation from the sky-devouring corpse standing beside Lin Dong. Naturally, he would not allow himself to get roped into such a troublesome matter. Otherwise, he would end up being manipulated by the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander chuckled. He naturally did not expect that the Ghost Condor Demon Commander would be foolish enough to attack. Hence, all he could do was to stare at Lin Dong with dark chilly eyes before he said, I will allow all of you to hop around a little longer. Once the Divine Item Treasury is closed, I will get all of you to pay the price of your actions. Little Flame's eyes became even more brutal upon hearing this. On the other hand, standing beside him, Lin Dong's expression did not change. Instead, he merely smilingly cupped his hands together. If the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander is interested, my Deep Lightning Mountain will fight with you all the way till the end. Lin Dong continued to display an impassive calmness that caused one to be furious. Upon witnessing this, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander involuntarily inhaled a deep breath of air as he violently suppressed the churning fury in his heart. Secretly, he swore that if it was not because he was a little wary of the sky-devouring corpse standing beside Lin Dong, he would definitely attack him with lightning-like speed. A surprise flashed across the Ghost Condor Demon Commander and the Golden Ape Demon Commander's eyes. Lin Dong was indeed extraordinary. Even the usually overbearing Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was forced into an impasse, whereby neither attacking nor withdrawing was a good option. However, was he really prepared to receive the fury of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander after the ancient divine item treasury closed? Looking at the time, it seems like the ancient divine item treasury will open soon. The Golden Ape Demon Commander glanced at the deepest parts of the divine item mountain range and said, Let's wait. I wonder if a divine object ranked on the ancient divine object ranking will appear this time around. Ghost Condor licked his lips. There was intense greed in his eyes. At their level, a soul treasure could hardly pique their interest. Only those divine objects left behind from the ancient times could stir their interest and greed. The Golden Ape Demon Commander nodded. An excited and heated expression flashed across his eyes. The three most eye-catching large factions gradually appeared in the sky. They high-handedly occupied the spot with the best view. Yet, no one dared to say anything. Lin Dong's body relaxed after he saw the tense imminent battle-like atmosphere disappear. Big brother, it seems that we have definitely become enemies with the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Little Flame glanced at the direction where the Blood Dragon Hall was located and said. Lin Dong nodded. He softly said, it will be extremely chaotic when the treasury opens. Instruct everyone to be careful. We will deal with the subsequent matters when the time comes. Although a Samsara stage expert is powerful, the both of us aren't weak either. If he wants a fight, we will accompany him. With Lin Dong's current fighting strength, he was not afraid of anyone in the profound death stage. Although it was impossible for him to defeat a Samsara stage expert, the other party would definitely have a headache if he became ruthless and fought with all his strength. If he dares to attack, I will ensure that he suffers serious damage even at the cost of my life. Little Flame nodded violently. His rough face revealed a murderous intent. Standing behind him, Chen Tong and the rest could only laugh in a bitter and helpless manner. With these two ferocious individuals in charge, they realized that they did not have a moment to relax. With the end of the face-off between the Deep Lightning Mountain and the Blood Dragon Hall, the atmosphere in the Divine Item Mountain range was no longer as tense as before. Soon after, various noises were once again emitted before spreading far into the distance. During the subsequent period of time, an increasing number of powerful individuals and factions began to swarm over. The four other demon commanders also led a large contingent and appeared. However, their auras were clearly inferior to that of the three great demon commanders. All of them maintained a certain degree of respect and fear towards those three. After all, not everyone had Lin Dong and Little Flame's guts, and they did not dare to challenge a Samsara stage super expert. Lin Dong sat on the top of the mountain. His eyes glanced over the black mass of people all over the mountain. Both his eyes narrowed as he gazed at the deepest parts of the mountain range. After he arrived at this place, Lin Dong could detect that the activity of the ancestral stone in his body had become even more intense. Yang, that mysterious divine palace can only refine divine objects on its own, but why are there divine objects, which are ranked on the ancient divine object ranking, in it? Lin Dong suddenly asked in his heart while he waited. He recalled that when the ancient divine item treasury was opened the previous time, a 32nd ranked ancient divine object had appeared. Many owners of these ancient divine objects died during the World War back then. With no owners, the divine objects ended up being kept by the mysterious divine palace. After all, by staying within, these divine objects would be able to receive the best protection and reinforcement. Yang replied in a faint voice. The mysterious divine palace also possessed consciousness? It even knows how to collect those divine objects that do not have an owner. Lin Dong was slightly startled. The mysterious divine palace was also personally created by my owner. It is naturally no ordinary object. What are you so surprised about the fact that it possesses a consciousness? Yang paused. However, its intelligence has yet to reach my level. You are considered an old demon, Lindong curled his lips. It would really be a headache if all divine objects possess an intelligence like Yang. Tell me, what are my chances of obtaining the mysterious divine palace? Lindong fondled his chin. This mysterious divine palace was ranked 10th on the ancient divine object ranking, and it was not going to be easy to obtain it. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to remain here after so many years. Even a samsara stage individual would have difficulties forcefully subduing the mysterious divine palace. You have a way, am I right? Lindong blinked and laughed. You are divine object ranked 2nd on the divine object ranking. Relax, I will help you when the time comes. Yang's lazy voice allowed Lindong to sigh in relief. If this fellow chose to do nothing, Lindong would really be in for a big headache. That's right, you are ranked 2nd on the ancient divine object ranking. What is ranked 1st? Lindong suddenly recalled a question that he had always wanted to ask. He hesitated for a moment before voicing it. He felt Yang becoming quiet after his question was asked. It was a long while later before he replied. You will naturally come to learn of it in the future. This vague reply startled Lindong. All he could do was shake his head helplessly. He felt curious about it in his heart. From a certain point of view, the ancestral stone did not appear to possess an overly terrifying combat strength. Instead, it was like a support item. An example was how Yang could set up the so-called endless divine prison, which allowed Lindong to temper his mental energy. Of course, one must admit that this support item was relatively frightening. After all, regardless of how powerful a divine object was, one's body was ultimately the most reliable thing. Lindong stopped talking after Yang became quiet. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the deepest parts of the mountain. Then, his eyes abruptly hardened. He could sense that the land itself had trembled slightly. Everyone, be careful. Lindong immediately cried out in a deep voice upon detecting this slight change. The surrounding tiger-devouring army also tensed their bodies at this moment. Little Flame also stood up. His face was grave as he looked at the mountain. A wild exclamation suddenly sounded over the entire area soon after the tremor. After which, everyone saw a golden light shooting towards the sky from deep within the mountain range. Rumble. The land shook violently. Lindong saw that the two distant mountains seemed to have moved simultaneously. Meanwhile, a golden light erupted from the spot where they had shifted away from. Golden light crossed each other. Countless number of people suddenly stood up. Their eyes gathered on the golden light. Finally, they saw an extremely ancient hall slowly tearing apart the ground in a slow and shocking fashion, before it stood proudly in this land. The divine item Treasury had finally appeared. This video will end here.